Right, so to examine some of the issues raised there and perhaps take a look at the security architecture, we're headed to Lagos.
Thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us retired Colonel, Captain, sorry, my apologies, Captain Aliyu Umar, to discuss national issues, especially security issues in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Eid Mubarak.
But Mr. President, on his return, this is practically the first engagement that he has had, summoning the security chiefs to look at the security situation in the country. Do you think that the call for security chiefs to have a rejig of the security architecture in this country, do you think this is coming at a time that will foster that actualization?
It's, for me, what I heard the president say is more or less like a transition fever problem statement. As you have observed in the last 6-8 years, beyond actually more than that, but anytime we have transition, political transition impending post-99, you start hearing things that wouldn't have been said you know, how do I put it, wouldn't have been said earlier than now. Open their game. It's not a game. That place is serious business. And any service chief who doesn't know and thinks it's a game should be done away with. That place is a battleground. It's not a game. Okay? So I don't know where the game thing came from. It's not a game. It's serious business. And when you look at the country generally, I can tell you that the one thing we all have in common, including the three of us here, is no more Nigeria. Nigeria is not really anything we all have in common anymore. Something has taken precedence over that, and it's fear. The one thing 170 million Nigerians have in common on my database right now is fear, insecurity. Pick any state right now, and I'll tell you off my fingerprints, off my fingertips, what the fears are. And they are trending. They are not past. They're not future, they are trending. So we just sit like sitting ducks. We don't know what's going to happen, when, where next, or who. It could be anyone.
But you know, someone will tend to disagree with you because the government, as a matter of fact, in the case of Zamfara State, deployed military personnel there, deployed Air Force support also there to try to get out the marauders, and that has largely succeeded.
Yeah. That has largely succeeded, but let me promise you that the dead still remain dead. And the victims who were unfortunate not to have died are still just as scared as anyone driving on Abuja-Kaduna Road, are just as scared as anyone living in the same villages where the military are in Zamfara. And the reason is simple. We have seen scenarios where the military is so close by you can smell their armpits, and 200 people are plundered, and they are waiting for authorization from the commander-in-chief to swing into action. This same commander-in-chief needed no authorization to swing into action when the Cameroonians came into our territory sometime in the 80s. He had to actually even be heeded, or he had to actually heed the president's callback somewhere along 30 kilometers to Yaoundé. So I tell you, the one thing, whether we admit it or not, that we all have in common right now is fair.
Captain Umar, what you're saying right now, are you implying that the apparatus we have has failed?
I'm not implying, I'm saying so.
Why?
Neota, if you lived in a house for 58 years, do you need common sense to renovate it? If you don't, one of two things will happen. It will either collapse on you or your children will. The system, the institutions, we call our nation's institutions. For me, in my playground, security and intelligence are antiquated to our young ones. As you speak with me, I'm not a youth. If I was still in service, I would have been an elder in service today. The young man, the major, the lieutenant colonel, he's not seeing the institution as anything that should be on 2018 earth. And it's simple. We belong to Generation X, the three of us here. These guys I'm talking about are millennials. They are millennials, and we already have super millennials coming. They see, think, and do differently. So just like the house, if you built a house 58 years ago, your son will be looking at it like a museum.
So what does this meeting with Mr. President and security chiefs mean for the Nigerian people today?
What the meeting with the president and his service chiefs means for Nigerians today, for me, is not different from what the other meetings with his service chiefs have meant. This is not the first time they are meeting with him. This set of service chiefs have met with him, at least counting on my fingertips now, more than 5-6 times. What has changed? The fight against terrorism, for every single 1 feet those hard-working soldiers score in the Northeast, something dilutes it in Zamfara or the North Central. So let's do the maths. We score a victory in the Northeast +1. You get an attack on Abuja-Kaduna Expressway -1. You get an attack somewhere in Benue State -1. So if you have +1 -3, for example, what will be the aggregate score? -2. Nobody is measuring these things. I've cried myself hoarse that we in the security sector have an allergy for figures. The allergy for figures itself is there because nobody wants to account for anything. If not, if you compute the figures and did a very thorough security estimate brief for Mr. President, he'll probably be changing his service chiefs right now. The figures are clear, they don't lie. The good thing, I'm in love with figures, even though I'm not too, how do I say now? I'm not too, into figures, as in I did not do sciences or any of those things, but the little I know about computations and permutations and statistics sees me through. If you can't measure anything, you won't control it.
But if the president were to change the security chiefs, what difference will it bring?
Well, let me tell you something about changing service chiefs. Changing service chiefs for me is not about because you are the greyest general or the eldest, no. It's just about saying, hey, what can you do to solve our problems? That's a basket full of fruits. Which one can you eat? How long will it take you to consume it? And what resources do you need to do that? You're going to write me your scripts, and as your commander-in-chief, I'm going to hold you to it. Okay, so that means I can measure your performance, I can cut my losses if I have to, and not just sit and wait it out until you die or reach retirement before I can change anything. Don't forget, expensive people are dying. What I mean by expensive people is, if you know how much it takes to recruit a private soldier, right through when he's good enough to graduate from depot, and then one cadet, then add all the salaries he earns up to that point he's killed. If we were to say it should be refunded, we'll probably have even more debts than we owe today. So we have to be able to say, look, what can you do? And that is where the real thing is. When you hold men to results, you get results.